Hey, what's up, guys? Happy Black Friday. And of course, if you guys are watching this video, then you already know that Phantom Revengers is going to be officially released, and with it comes some new archetypes. Phantom Revengers is a deck building set, which is pretty common in Yu-Gi-Oh! We've seen a bunch of these in the past, and today I'm going to be giving you my kind of thoughts, my honest thoughts on what this new set means for the metagame and if it's going to have any sort of impact, right? So before we get into it, guys, definitely go check out tx1.com. Supreme Pro, guys, is currently hosting an insane Black Friday deal at the moment. It's going to be going on for the entire week, pretty much, guys. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. It's if you guys use pack 10, you get an additional 10% off the site, or your entire cart order. So there's already a discount, and you'll get another discount on top of it, so you'll get double the discount. So definitely use pack 10, guys, if you guys want to get any of these exclusive Black Friday Supreme Pro deals. So yeah, definitely go check that out, guys, if you haven't already. And guys, if you are looking to improve your gameplay, definitely consider checking out Inner Circle as well to get up to date with all of like your current meta trends. And yeah, let's jump right into it. So first off, Phantom Revengers released, like I mentioned already, 3 new archetypes: Ending Killer Tunes, and Hecka Hands. I'm going to be talking about Killer Tunes and Hecka Hands today because I feel like those have the most potential, while the Endcraft deck, guys, it's honestly just trash. Like, I don't even know. It's basically a flip. Like, it's a flip deck, bro. Like, the last time that a flip deck was relevant was like literally maybe Guru, I think. So anyways, yeah, so the best way to talk about Killer Tune is, well, what exactly is this archetype? Well, this archetype is a synchro based strategy. And if you know anything about myself, I'm a huge synchro enthusiast. Or did I say fusion before? I might have misspoken, but it's a synchro strategy, okay? And basically, these killer tune monsters gain effects when they're used as synchro materials. There's currently 3 in the main deck, I believe. Three main monsters. And the thing to know about these killer tune monsters is that they actually have a in archetype hand trap as well. So we'll kind of go over that. But the first one is Killer Tune Mix. This is basically a Stratos, but it can also add from the graveyard or the deck to the hand a non-level 2 Killer Tune. So you can only add basically the this one, Rico, and then Rico adds a non-level 3 Killer Tune from your deck to your hand. So Rico is going to be the main starter because Rico lets you search Clip, and then Clip effect is during your opponent's main phase. If this card is in your hand, you can special summon this card. Then immediately after this effect resolves, you can synchro summon a tuner synchro monster in your opponent's turn. All of these Killer Tune monsters basically allows you to use a tuner monster in your hand as a material, which is obviously really strong. So yeah, these are all tuners, and they can let you use an additional tuner as a material. So something to note, you might be wondering, like, a tuner, these are all tuner monsters, and if you use a tuner monster in your hand, can you still make a synchro monster? Because usually you need a non-tuner monster to make synchros. Well, the thing is, the Hecka synchro monsters like Trackmaker, these ones you can use a Killer Tune tuner and a regular tuner to basically synchro summon into these cards, which is kind of interesting. I believe like Gothams, I think XX Gothams is like one of the cards that lets you do this as well. But obviously these are some of the few synchro monsters in the game that lets you basically use multiple tuners to make a synchro monster, which historically, as you guys know, mainly you have to use a non-tuner and a tuner. So the thing I wanted, by the way, all these Killer Tune monsters have effects when they're sent to the graveyard as synchro materials. So one is a monster pop, one is a banish a random card from your opponent's extra deck, which we know how annoying this is because, if you guys played the Cashier format, even though this isn't super relevant, sometimes this definitely could come up. Because a lot of the modern day extra decks are all a bunch of one-ofs. So like, for example, let's say you banish one of your opponent's like Cookie Yummy way, so now they can't add 2 monsters from the deck to the hand, right? And then this one is you target one spell trap card your opponent controls, and then you destroy it, right? So The thing is, obviously, you could play this deck as a pure deck, but I don't think the pure deck is very strong. I think like trying to find a way to combine other engines for this deck is going to be how I think you're going to look for ways to succeed with this deck. So yeah, the first one is Track Maker. This is going to be the one that you typically make. And then yeah, these are gonna be the ones you typically make. This one basically lets you add a Killer Tune card from your deck to your hand, and when sent to the graveyard synchro material, you can target one card your opponent controlled to return it to the hand. This one lets you tribute this during your opponent's turn. You take 2 non-synchro tuner monsters from your grave, add one to the hand, summon the other, and then immediately synchro summon. So this one allows you this one is like easily made as well, because like I said, you can use this plus Rico plus Clip or Mix. And the idea is this card, when you tribute it, lets you add back for example the Mix and the Clip, or sorry, the Mix and the Rico, or the Clip and the Rico, and the Clip lets you basically quick synchro on your opponent's turn as well. So that's the idea. The cool part about this is that like hand traps, right guys, can be this can recycle hand traps because it's a non-synchro tuner. So Ash Blossom, it's a non-synchro tuner monster. Mourner, Veiler, you know, all the above. So for instance, if you open like a Clip, you can normal summon Clip and use Clip plus Ash in your hand to actually make this card. So so that's how like this deck is like kind of unique in the sense it can recycle hand traps. Like even Bell, right? I think Ash and Bell are the most common hand traps right now that are like good tuner hand traps. Mourner isn't really seeing much play that's good. Veiler is obviously good in Draco Tail from what we've seen. And then what else is there? I think that's pretty much it. But so yeah, that's gonna be how you that's how you're gonna be modulating. This one, Red Seal, is interesting because it lets you make it so that you increase the level of monsters you control by 1. Now this could be a good floodgate because, you know, like increasing yummy monsters by 1 makes it so that they just can't perform synchro summons, which is a pretty strong floodgate randomly. And then it is a quick effect negate pretty much. And then you have Loudness War. This card makes it so that other tuners can't be destroyed or targeted. And then this effect says you can banish a kill tune monster and you apply the synchro material effect of the banished monster. So for example, you can banish like a Rico or a Clip, and then you can apply that effect. So you can banish an extra card from their extra deck face down. You can target a spell and trap card you control and destroy it. So and then you have this card, which is a Killer Tune card, Killer Tune Synchro, which lets you basically, it's a quick play Rhoda, and then quick to perform a synchro summon. And then you have Juke Joint, which is a Killer Tune field spell, which lets you like normal summon twice. And then it makes it so the Loudness where it gets really big as well. So that's obviously pretty strong. And then it also makes hand traps like starters, because you can tribute like, let's say, an Ash Blossom, like summon a Killer Tune from your deck, and then, you know, use that to play. And then you have like the playlist, which is basically like you can either bounce it back to the hand, or you apply like the synchro material effect of it, which is like basically a pop of a back row, pop of a spell and trap card, or like a banish from your opponent's extra deck. The banishing from your opponent's extra deck, the random effect is actually pretty good because it's permanent. So like the issue is that obviously you don't know which card you'll banish, but it's actually like not even the worst essentially. But yeah, anyways, yeah, it also lets you recycle back the card, so you could actually Bell this if you target in the graveyard. So Bell's actually pretty good against this deck, because you can also Bell where is it, this card, Remix. So Bell's actually like a pretty good non-engine to have. And then you can also Bell most of like the normal on summon effects, so Bell becomes like even crazier if people play this deck, like because all the Rhoda effects can add from grave or deck. So like Bell is just like a lot stronger pretty much. So I think this archetype isn't like meta defining based on like what I've reading and what I've seen. I think like we're gonna need to find like some alternate engine to like supplement with it, but it definitely has potential. I think one thing I've learned from all deck building sets is that essentially whenever there are deck building sets, Konami will give more support in like another set later down the line. So I think these archetypes are actually like quite good investments, because I think they'll get good at some point, or the current meta decks will get hit at some point, and so these decks will just randomly become insane. Because just reading it, I think this deck obviously has a lot of potential. D barrier is banned now, so you can play a mono like synchro based strategy. The other thing you have to keep in mind is that like none of these cards actually restrict you, so you can actually like access link monsters. You can like do, you can overlay, you can like use, you can like overlay, like, you know. So none of these cards actually like lock you, except I guess the quick play card. So yeah, I think this is definitely like an interesting archetype that I think does have potential to be good at some point. I also think that if you play Genesis, this might actually be a good Genesis deck as well, because it's a new archetype. So yeah, definitely has some potential here. I would say that this deck could be good for sure. And I think this is one of the decks that I think I will probably, one of the cores I'll probably pick up, just, you know, just to have it just in case. All right, now for the next archetype I want to talk about is Heka Hands. So Heka Hands is actually another archetype that I thought had a lot of potential as well, and I can kind of go over why, right? So Heka Hands, if you guys don't know, is like this illusion type, fusion type deck. The idea of this deck is that you want to use your opponent's cards to your advantage, right? So I'm basically going to talk about all the different Heka Hand monsters. So first you have Breus. If a card is added to your opponent's hand outside of the draw phase, you can especially summon this card from your hand. So this card actually works with like mulch armies, essentially. So like, let's say your opponent Fuas you, you can basically, and then you trigger the Fua by link summoning or something. Then you can actually trigger this to summon from the hand, and then you can look at your opponent's a random card in your opponent's hand and then summon it to your side of the field. That's actually a really important effect, because I'll get into it when we get to the fusion monsters. Next you have Ibble. Ibble basically is the main Heka Hand starter. You reveal this card in your hand, you shuffle it into the deck, and then you summon a Heka Hand monster from your deck in defense. So this is going to be the main starter. Like, I think you're probably going to be wanting to play more copies of this. The other thing about this effect is that when this card's sent to the graveyard, you're able to bring back a Heka Hands from the graveyard as well, right? So that's like the other effect. Then you have Yugioh. Yugioh is also similar to the card before. It's one of the better ones, because you can reveal this and then add a Heka Hand spell and trap card, which are basically solemns. And then if this card sends to the graveyard, you can recycle back the Heka Hand spells and traps in your graveyard. Then you have Godo. This card basically special summon this card from your hand, and then your opponent's main phase, you can target monster in the grave, summon it to your field. So this effect, this card isn't as good. I don't think you'll play it, but it is technically a hand trap, because your opponent activates like, I don't know, reinforcement of the army. You can actually trigger this to summon it on your opponent's turn, and then obviously because it's during your opponent's turn, it becomes kind of like a DD Crow where you take their monster. Not the worst, but yeah. This card, Gygus, is going to be one of the cards you're going to be typically summoning, because this card lets you excavate the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck. So actually, this card actually lets you figure out what deck your opponent's playing. And then you can special summon one of the excavated monsters that you see. So yeah, so these are basically the 5 Heka Hand monsters. I believe there should be 5, if I'm not mistaken. And then now for the fusion monsters. So the fusion monster, the Heka Hand Julza, this is gonna be basically the main card you summon. So like the combo is gonna be something like, you go Ibble effect, reveal, shuffle into the deck, summon a Heka Hand monster from your deck. You're gonna summon Gygus. Assuming your opponent's playing a meta deck, you'll hopefully hit a monster, and if you hit a monster, you will take your opponent's monster, and then you tribute your opponent's monster and the Gygus to summon Gauza, and then Gauza lets you add a Heka Hand card from your deck or graveyard to your hand. And then yeah, and then the other one is Xeno, which is 3. You need 3 Heka Hands. Lets you look at 2 random cards in your opponent's extra deck face down. You special summon one of them, and then yeah, and then obviously if it's destroyed, you can take any amount of monsters they control, but that effect isn't as relevant except against like Mitsurugi. But yeah, then you have like the Heka Hand Rotospell. This card is really good because you can add a Heka Hand monster from your deck to your hand, and then if you send one other card you control to the graveyard, you're able to set a Heka Hand spells and trap. Now that is really good because it basically lets you end on double solemn, because there's 2 Heka Hand traps similar to Drake Tail. where if your opponent activates a monster and you control hack a hand monster, you negate the activation and then you destroy it, and then you get to summon that monster you destroyed to your field. Then this is your dull Hecka hand. So if your opponent activates a spell and trap card and you control a Hecka monster, you get to negate it, and then if you destroy it, you get to set it to your field. Obviously, these cards are insanely, like, these traps, if you set them up, are insanely broken. So like, you basically put up like a strike essentially, and like you get to put up like a free solemn for spells and traps. And then you have like Tartaros. This one, if you control a Hecka hand monster, you can bounce this back row. But the second effect is what you're going to be mainly using it for, which is the fusion summoning effect, where you want to be able to fusion summon for example, like Xeno, because the idea is you can basically manipulate or mess up your opponent's extra deck pretty much. So it's kind of like an extra deck rip, which is kind of like whatever. But yeah, so the first thing that comes to mind is like you can actually play Chimera with the Hecka hand card. So I think that actually has a lot of potential, and you can actually feel like a decent amount of non-engine even if you play like Chimera. So I actually think that like it could actually be kind of decent for that reason. And like I said, I think these archetypes will get more support in the future, so it's actually a good idea to like just pick them up, because you never know, like all it takes is like a random support card and the deck just becomes like really good. But I do think like that Chimera version of this deck could be very scary. Like they'll go first, set up a Baphomet, which rips a card out of your hand. You'll set up double solemns, like 2 counter traps, and then you'll set up like waste like a Chimera fusion to fusion again on their turn. Like it's just gonna be a really hard, in my opinion, to crack that board, and like the deck is pretty resilient through hand traps. So yeah, I think this deck actually has like some potential for sure. So yeah, this is gonna be definitely a deck that I think is the other one I'm gonna pick up. So yeah, overall I think like these 2 out of 3 archetypes are actually decent. Like I said, there's NL Craft, but I literally think you need to print like Spiral Double Helix for that deck to be decent. So I'm not even gonna bother. But yeah, I think these 2 like archetypes of like Hecka hands and Killer Tunes definitely gonna do some potential. I think it could be really good. So yeah, overall I'm probably gonna pick up the set, but I don't know if I'm gonna buy like boxes and open them. I think just getting the singles, because they'll be way cheaper, is probably the move. But yeah, let me know if that was helpful for you guys, and let me know what you think of Phantom Revengers as well. Do you think it's going to be a meta changing set? My overall thoughts: not really going to change the meta that much, but it will add a new element, a new flavor to the game. If you guys are looking to play something different, I'll put them both in the tier 2 category right now until someone breaks it, which does have potential. But like I said, they're kind of like, if I were to rate them power level from like out of 10, they're like around like a 6-7 at the moment. But obviously, with the right build and some creativity, maybe you can get it to like a 9 or something. But yeah, overall guys, thanks again, and happy shopping, happy Black Friday, peace.